This conference will now be recorded.
So today let us move to the next important topic, Python exception handling. How to handle exceptions we'll see. So what is this exception? The meaning of exception is like a runtime error. The meaning of exception what? A runtime error. And once it occurs, the program will get terminated. Once it occurs, what will happen? The program will get terminated and the remaining part of code will not get executed. Let me elaborate more. Let us suppose you are working on MS Word document and you are typing a document. After typing the document, you want to print it, but printer is not connected to your system. So what will happen? Will it give a message that printer not connected, or will it close application automatically? Message or close?
Automatically close the application.
Will it close application? No, right? It will go with a message. When you are printing, it will go with a message, printer not connected. It won't close the application automatically, right? Have checked it.
Yeah.
So the application, your MS Word application will get closed automatically if printer is not there?
No.
No, right? So that's the meaning. So the word will not get closed here. The application will not get closed. It will give message to the user like the printer is not connected. So we get a message. It won't close application automatically. So what is the meaning? So if any abnormal situation occurs like printer not connected, the application should give proper messages to the user. What application should give? Proper message to the user what went wrong, should not close applications automatically. Such type of applications only we say robust applications, strong applications. So by using exception handling, we develop the robust applications. Got it? There is why we go for exceptions.
Yeah.
To handle the runtime situations. So what is this? An exception. Let us understand what is exception. An exception is a runtime error which occurs during program execution. During program execution and terminates the program abnormally. So which is not good programming. They should not get terminated abnormally. So let us understand what is this abnormal termination with a program. Exception demo.py. Right click on project in C. New Python file. Exception demo. So let us write some code here. So I'm writing here n1 equal to int input enter number 1. I'm taking again n2 equal to int input enter number 2. We are accepting two numbers. Enter number 2. Then we will say result equal to n1 by n2. Result equal to what? N1 by n2. Then we'll print the value of result like this. Print division equal to the value of result. The value of result. Right? Now,
Yeah.
after this, I'll go with the message print end of program. Our program is successful. Whatever you want, you can say, or end of program. This is the code what I have written now. Now run this code. When I'm running, I'm giving number 1 as 10, number 2 as 5, then we get the division as 2.0 and we get the message end of program. If you run the program again, if you say the number 1 as 10 and number 2 as 0. What is 10 by 0?
10.
10 by 0 is undefined. Okay, any number divisible by 0, it's undefined. It is infinity, what we say. So where it will go with a error here? Where it will go with what? Error. And what it says is 0 division error, divisible by 0. So we cannot divide a number by 0. And what is that error name? The exception name? 0 division error. Okay. So once the error is occurring, that is once the exception is coming, is the remaining part of code is getting executed here? Are you getting these messages end of program?
No.
No. So that is the meaning called as abnormal termination. So is abnormal termination in the program? Is it good programming?
No.
No, it's not good programming. So what we should do? We should handle this error. We should handle this exception and should continue with the remaining part of code also. I should be able to continue with remaining part of code. So for that case only we go for what? Exception handling. So exception handling is used to avoid the abnormal termination of program. Abnormal termination of program and makes the program robust. So it makes the program robust. Robust means strong. Should be able to handle the runtime situations. Then how to go for this exception handling? Before that, one more point, let me say exception is the base class for all exceptions. For all exception types, exception is the base class. Then here we are having some keywords. Keywords in exception handling. So the keywords in exception handling are try, except, raise, finally, and else. So these are the 5 keywords in exception handling. Let us initially see the first one, try with except and else. We combine this one more, try with except and else. The syntax looks like this. In try block, we keep the statements which you feel exception may occur. In try block, what we do? We keep the statements which you feel exception may occur. Then, if you are getting any exception in try block, the Python will raise an exception. The Python will throw an exception, which I'm going to caught it by using except. Okay, so whenever you get an exception in try block, the Python will raise an exception which is accepted by what? By except block. And here in this one, we handle the exception. Handle the exception means what? Giving a message to the user what went wrong. Just to set messages. Then else. Else means after except, it comes to else. And here we go for if no exception. The part of code will get executed if there is no exception. So when it goes to else, if there is no exception, then it will go to else. Okay, finally it will go to else here. If the program is not terminated, it will go to else part. If the program is terminated, then it won't go to else part here. So what is the use? If an exception occurs in try block, Python runtime raises an exception which is accepted by except block, and handles the exception, and the remaining part of try block will not get executed. Understand that? Will not get executed. So if you are getting exception in statement 2, the control will jump to except block, and the remaining part of try block will not get executed. It won't go back to again try block. Clear, Dheeraj?
Yeah.
Right. Then let us understand how to apply this try except blocks in our program. So in our program, in which line we are getting exception? This line. When I give second number as 0, then keep this part of code in try block like this. Try colon. Then. Now if this statement executes properly, then only I should display the value of division. Else I should not display. Means keep this line of code also as a part of try block, because this is dependent on this statement. Then except, then here we'll say except if it is going with exception, then we'll go with the message. So if it is throwing some exception here, I miss it out. Except, and giving the exception name is option for us. If you know the exception name, you can provide the exception name. If you don't know, you can even just say exception. Print. I'm going with the message divide by 0, not allowed. I'm going with the proper message to the user, divide by 0, not allowed. Then else means what? If the exception is handled properly, then we'll go with the message print program is successful. Program is successful. That's it. Save. Run the code. So it will ask number 1. If I say 10 and 5, so we get division as 2. Program is successful and end of program. Then, if I am giving number 1 as 10 and number 2 as 5, it will say, sorry, I have entered the same numbers, right? So number 2 as 0. Then we get what immediately? Divide by 0 is not allowed. Divide by 0 is not allowed. And it's going with what? End of program. So why it is not going to else? Okay. If the exception is not handled, then it will go to else part. If the exception is not handled, then it will go to else part. Okay. And comes out of the program. If there is no exception, then it will go to else part. If it is not going to accept block, then it will go to else part. Clear, Dheeraj?
Yeah.
Right. Let us move to the next concept here. Try with multiple exceptions. Try with multiple exceptions. So, what is the need of going for multiple except is, in your try block, if I am writing the try block here, and we are going with statements. Then in these statements, there is a chance of getting multiple exceptions. There is a chance of getting what? Multiple exceptions. Then if I go with only one except block, then what are the message you are giving here? What are the message you are giving? The message will be common for all types of exceptions. So what are the message you are giving? This message will become what? Common for any type of exception. If statement 1 is generating one exception, the message will remain same. If statement 2 is generating other exception, the message will remain same. But what is the concept? Based on the exception type, I want to go with the message. Then in that case, we go with multiple except like this. Except exception type 1, then I'll go with the message based on exception type 1. Then except exception type 2, then I'll go with the message based on exception type 2. Like that. How many except you want, you can write. Except exception type n, I can go with the message. So what is the need? It is used to provide proper message to the user based on exception type. Based on exception type, I want to go with the message. Let me elaborate more. Multiple except dot py. Multiple except like this. I'm going with a try block, and here I'm saying n1 equal to int input enter number 1. Then again we'll say n2 equal to int input enter number 2. Then we'll say result equal to n1 by n2. Then we'll print the value of division. We'll printing the value of division, the value of result. Then in this try block, if you observe here, there is a chance of getting some exceptions here. Like when I give the second number as 0, the exception what it generates is, what exception it will generate? 0 division error. 0 division error. Now, when I'm giving the number as xx, if I give the number as xx, then can I convert it into integer?
No.
When I'm accepting the number as xx, can I convert into integer? No. So this error we call it as, this exception we call value error. This exception we call it as what? Value error. So there is a chance of getting different exceptions here. Then now except if it is 0 division error, then I want to go with the message print divide by 0 not allowed. I want to go with what message? Divide by 0 not allowed. Except if you are getting value error, what is the value error? If I give the number as xx, but if I am trying to convert into integer, which is not possible, then we get value error. Then I'll go with the message here, enter only numbers. Enter only numbers. Then we are in one more, except keyboard interrupt. Keyboard interrupt. So when we get keyboard interrupt is when you are pressing Control C. Control C, or some of the other machines it will even take Control X also. Control C, X or Control C. Then when you press this, you will get keyboard interrupt, but will work only at IDE. So when you are working only at IDE, it will work. So this will not work in our PyCharm. Okay.
No.
So keyboard interrupt will not work in PyCharm. I cannot show this. So try to work out with in IDE. It will show you. When you press either Control X or Control C, the program will get interrupted. So when the program is getting interrupted, then you can go with the message print program is interrupted. Program is interrupted. Clear? Why we are going with the multiple except here?
Yeah.
So based on except, that is based on exception type, I want to go with the message. If I write only one except, the message will remain common for all exceptions. But if I go with multiple except, we can go with different messages. Let me run this. If I give 10 and 5, no issues, we get the division. But if you run again, and if I give the 10 and 0, we get what message? See, divide by 0 not allowed. If you run the code again, if you say 10 and xx, then we get enter only numbers. It is giving what message to us? Enter only numbers. And if you are working with IDE, when you are running the code, you can even press Ctrl C or Ctrl X. Then we'll get what message? Program is interrupted. Clear, Dheeraj?
Yeah.
right?
So in Python, everything goes line by line, right?
Yeah, line by line only.
So
Execution happens like
so
if any
here,
line is having problem, the program will get terminated. But before, if it is handled, if it is handled with except, then the program will not get terminated. We can give message to the user what went wrong, what mistake the user has done. That's the need of going for exception handling,
okay.
right? I
So
don't want to make the program should get terminated because of user input or because of mistakes done by user. I should inform the user what mistakes the user is doing. That information we can do by using exception handling. If you are not going with exception handling in your program, the program will get terminated, which is not good programming.
yeah. So this zero division error, this value error, are they fixed or
Fix it, fix it. They are predefined things here. They are fixed.
so only these exceptions can be coming, or is there any define our own exceptions?
Which one?
Can we define our own exemptions, or only this predefined one we should use?
We can even define own exceptions also, but still I too don't have idea how to go for that. I need to check for that. I'm trying to work out on that also. How to go with user defined exceptions in Python, but you can go with your own messages.
Okay.
Your own messages. That is possible. That also I'll discuss. How to go with your own messages.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
How to raise an exception of your own and with your own messages. That also we'll discuss. How to go with my own names, that I'll discuss to you. Okay. Before I close
Okay.
the course, I'll discuss how to go with my own names for my exceptions also. That also I'll discuss.
How many are there like this? Zero division error
So
value.
no, no limit, no limit. So many are there.
So many. Okay.
Okay. So if you just browse, like
Mhm.
because as you are keep on working, then you will be encountering lot of exceptions. Okay. So just if you browse in Google like exceptions
Mhm.
in Python, then it will show the list. And by seeing that name, it is easy to understand. Very
Okay.
easy. You can easily, by seeing this, you can easily understand what is happening. And the explanation also will be given to you.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of hundreds, more than hundreds all will be there because as you keep on entering into Python, when you are working with Python in DevOps or Hadoop or anywhere, again the exception names will change. But concept will remain same. Concept of exception handling is what? Try block, except block. This concept will not change. Only the name of the exceptions will change. But concept will remain same, universal. That's the reason we are learning exceptions now. So that when you see that exception code, we have to just learn the new exception names only. So when you are entering into other topics, then you will be learning new names. So just learning new names completes our exceptions. That is never ending story for us. Okay.
Okay.
We're having one more concept here. Try with finally block. Try with finally block. So the syntax looks like this. Try with some statements. Then finally with some statements. Always execute it. Means when to think of this finally block is finally block is a placeholder, is a place to put any code that must execute, irrespective of exception in try block. What is meaning of irrespective of exception? Even exception is coming in try block or even exception is not coming, we have to go with the try block. We have to go with finally block. Okay. Then
Okay.
what type of code we generally write here is like when you are making a connection to a database or whenever you are making a connection to a data file, once all the transactions are completed, we have to close it. That closing operations we do by using finally block. We do it in finally block. Okay.
Okay.
One second. So let's a simple example I'll take here. Like in try block, we are doing a connection, database connection. We are going with the database connection. Then after that, you are doing the transactions. You are doing the transactions here. Then once all transactions are completed, if you are doing the closing operation like this, con dot close, we are having a method like close. When I come to IO concept or MySQL connections, I'll show this one. So con dot close. Then what will happen here? If you are getting exception, will this line of code will get executed? Let us suppose you got exception here. If you are getting exception in transaction 2, will the closing operation will happen?
No.
No, right? But even exception occurs or does not occur, I want to close it compulsory. So the statements which you want to execute compulsory, such type of things we keep it in finally. So mainly we use finally for closing operations. Got it?
Yeah.
Right? Then one more important syntax rule here is try block can either have except block, or finally block, but not both. We cannot have both the things. Finally block can either have except block or finally block, but not both the things. Then, in finally block, we generally do the closing operations. We generally do what type of operations? Closing operations. Then one more point, else class cannot be used. Okay, else class cannot be used along with finally block. So we cannot write else part when you are using finally. So when you are going with except only, we write finally, but when you are using finally, we cannot write else block. Clear the rest, the syntax rules?
Yeah.
Right. So I'll discuss more on this try with finally when I come to IO concepts, file IOs. Okay, what is this closing operations? I'll go with complete practical code. Okay, Dheeraj?
Yeah.
Next one, we're having argument of exception. Argument of exception. So whenever you are going with exceptions, we can even pass some arguments. Let me elaborate more with the example code. Exception argument dot py. Exception argument of exception. In this one, I'm defining a function. How to define a function? Def keyword we use, and I'm taking a function name as square, and I'll pass the number. So what is the use of this square function? Should return the square of the given number. Should return what? The square of given number. Then how to define that? We'll say print int, convert into integer, and pass. What is the use of this operation? What is 2 starts? If I pass 4, 4 square. If I pass 6, 6 square. So how to represent square? Power of 2 start symbols. Do you remember? Operators.
Yeah.
Right? 2 start in means power, x to the power of 5. Okay, so here n to the power of 2 here. So that is the need of square. Square means power. Now, and we written here. Now, when you are calling the function, when you are calling the function, if I say square of 5, what result we get? What is square of 5? 25, right? We get 25. Now when you say square of xx, then what is the result we get?
Error.
So what is that error? So value error, right? We get what? Value error, because we cannot convert xx into integer type here. So it will go with what exception? Value error. Clear, Dheeraj?
Yeah.
So is it good programming?
No.
No. So I should handle it. So how to handle it? Keep the code in try block. Keep the code in what? Try block. And say return. So if there is no problem, return. So if you are getting except, means if you are getting any exception, it will go to except block. And what is the error we get here? Value error. We get value error as arglc. So this is called as argument. What is the need of this argument? Well, I'll explain. Value error as argument. Then here we'll say print the argument is not a number. The argument is not a number. Then let us run this code again. See here we are getting the message. The argument is not a number, and this message is invalid literal for integer with the base 10 xx. So this message, whatever the message you are having related to that exception, that will come and store your arg. The message given by Python. What is the message given by Python here? This is my own message. But I want to take out the message given by Python. What is the message given by Python? Invalid literal for int with base 10 and with the value xx. Okay, so this message will come and store into this arg. And if I want to display that message, I'm printing that message here. That is the meaning called as argument of exception. So the argument of exception means the message of your exception, the message given by Python that I want to store it into some variable. That variable only here we call argument. Clear, Dheeraj?
Yeah.
Right? If you want to use, you can use it, or you can just go with your own message. But whenever I want to display the message given by Python, we have to store like argument here. Okay?
Yeah.
The next concept we are having, the last one, raising an exception. Raising an exception. So how to raise an exception is by using a raise keyword. Raise keyword is used to raise an exception. So which keyword is used to raise an exception? Raise keyword. Okay. So let us understand this more with the program raise demo.py. Raising an exception. So here we are writing a try block and we are accepting some marks. Input, enter marks. Enter marks. There. Now I want to check if the marks entered by you, if marks less than 0, can you enter marks less than 0? No. Or if the marks what you are entering is greater than 100. So I cannot enter the marks. I want to go with the rule that the marks cannot be less than 0 or more than 100. Then I want to go with a exception. I want to raise my own exceptions. How to raise? Let's say here raise, and here we have to use exception. Of course, exception is a predefined, but how to go with user defined, I'll discuss to you later. Okay, hopefully I'll discuss by Monday to you. Raise exception. Why exception? Because exception is the topmost class. When you know the exception, then it's directly we can write the exception here. If you don't know the name of the exception, you can handle all exceptions using exception here. Raise exception of marks. I'm passing the argument here marks. There. If the condition is true, we'll say print marks are, I'm giving it a message, marks are in valid range, where I will print the value of marks. Then,
Marks should be in parentheses, right? Marks if no parentheses.
here, yeah, parenthesis is not compulsory. No problem. Even if you keep or not keeping, no problem. Okay, it's a condition. It's a condition. So for condition, using parenthesis is optional for us. Then, now, if there is no, if the condition is true, then it will go with what? Raise exception and use the argument of marks value. If the condition is false, then it directly comes to print and it says what message? Marks are in valid range and displays the marks value. Then, except if you are getting exception as a means whatever the message you are getting that will come and store into this here, then we'll say print error invalid marks. Error invalid marks, and I want to go with that argument value also. That e value I'm printing. Let me run this. So if I'm entering marks as something like 55, it will say marks are invalid range and you are printing the value of marks. If you run the code again and if you say some marks like -50, it will say error invalid marks, and this marks, what are the marks is there, that marks you are sending as an argument that will come and store into this e. That e value I'm printing here. That's the meaning called as arguments. So an exception can even take arguments. If you want to send some data to that exception, we can send it in the form of parenthesis, and how to take that value, we have to use here as keyword and store that value. Clear, Dheeraj? Exception as argument now. Okay.
So
even if you are giving marks,
even in the raise exception, whether we can also use print, right? If marks greater than 0, and if you enter this one, print marks is invalid.
So marks is invalid. Here also you can do the print operation. But what I want to do, I don't want to continue with the remaining part of code. So once the marks are invalid, you may write so many other code here. So I don't want to continue that. So if you don't want to continue, we go with exceptions. Okay, here the code will get terminated and it will go with except, and here it will go with the message. So the remaining part of code will not get executed here. It won't see that. That's the need of going for raising. Okay.
Okay.
So even if you give 110, it will say in error invalid marks. So why these are important here? Why these exceptions are important? I can even write the code with if and else also, right? With your own simple print messages.
Yes.
So what is the need of these exceptions? Is here I am taking a simple code, smaller example. But when you are working with server programming, from server, if the user is doing some mistake or if something abnormal happens, then I have to go with raise operation. I want to terminate it. I don't want to continue anymore. So in that case, we go for raise operation. Here I can do with if else, but when you are working with server programming, and when the user connects to the server, and if any mistake happens, the server should go with a message. The server should throw an exception. How it throws exception? Using raise keyword. That's the need of raise here. So once it raises, then it has to get terminated. It has to go to except block and give proper message what went wrong and should terminate. Got it now?
Yeah.
So this raise is mostly used in server-side programming. For simple ordinary programming, it's like similar to if-else condition. Okay?
Yeah.
So only to show the syntax how it looks, I've given the example like this to understand easily. Right, Dheeraj?
Yeah.
Right? Got some basic idea how to go for try and except block?
Yes.
Right? So total keywords are try, except, then finally raise and else part. These are the 5 keywords. Okay. So only we will go for exception only to avoid abnormal termination. Yeah. Yes, Dheeraj, you are saying something.
Mostly we use try except, right?
Right. That's it. That's the final words to say. Try and except only we use more. Okay. These two are the major keywords. So if you are having some idea in Java, instead of except we use catch block there. Catch block. Try and catch block we say, and instead of race in Java we use a throw keyword. Those are small differences. The keywords are different, but concept will remain same anyway.
Okay.
Okay, right. So try to practice this one once again so that you can remember the syntaxes easily. And next class, Monday, where I'll go with the next concept, IO, file IO concept.
Okay.
After file IO, then we'll go with GUI. After GUI, I'll discuss SQL concepts to you. Then after SQL concepts with MySQL, I'll go with connecting Python to MySQL. Okay. You said you are not having idea of SQL, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll discuss one day for that answer.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
Thank you, Dheeraj.
Okay, thank you.